Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. This is Sree Iyer, your host, and I'm with 𝗤𝗏𝗏 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. 2 days, now the third day, and still not much clues on what happened on that fateful day of AI 171. 𝗤𝗏𝗏 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 actually traveled by Air India from Singapore into India, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about that also. This is going to be an exciting session. Namaskara, sir. ಹೇಗಿದ್ರಿ?
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್. ನೀವು ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ? ನೀವು?
ನಾನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ sir. Sir, let's get back to English so everybody understands what we are saying. Sir, first off, your flight from Singapore to India, was it comfortable? Was it delayed? How was it, sir? And then we'll go to the main topic.
I think that the flight was very, very comfortable, extremely well organized, extremely well orchestrated. None of the things related to 171. I think there's a new number for this, Sriji. We shouldn't be calling 171 anymore. So that's the ill-fated 171, and going forward, the number is going to be fairly different. The flight was very comfortable, a good experience, positive experience, and some of the things that happened, during the flight, you have the technicians coming in, studying, going into the cockpit, studying the various panels. They have a set of sheets, they have a walkie-talkie, and they discuss with the pilots, and they give the clearance. And they're the only people who can give the clearance in terms of the various elements, weight, fuel, pressure, weight balancing, the load of the aircraft, the engines, the flaps, all of those conditions. They very closely with the ground engineers, and they give the certification, and they go away. About 3 weeks prior to that, we were on a flight by Singapore Airlines, and basically the same engineers did not allow the Singapore Airlines to take off because they found that there's some noise coming from the engines. Until they detected what that noise is, they would not allow the plane to take off. It took us almost an hour and a half. They will not tell you what they found, but they identified the source of the noise emanating from the engine, and they eventually kind of fixed it. And then they gave the clearance, and the pilot said, now we have the clearance from the ground staff and we can take off. They have a set of papers. They sign those papers, hand over, and only when those papers are signed, the plane is allowed to kind of take off. They work again closely with ATC. So I think they have a set of protocols that they follow. This applies to the ill-fated AI 171. That is why there has been, I know there are many people who have come on PGurus show, have given various opinions, and quite rightly so. And we are still in the process of discovery of truth for this, unfortunate, ill-fated accident that took place, Sriji.
Thank you, sir. Viewers, we have 5 areas that we are going to talk about, and Sridharji will dwell on all these things. But there are also some other theories. We will touch on them. Most importantly, the impact of the Iran-Israel conflict on markets, oil and energy. We'll be touching on that, and a big reveal about who has taken the most money out of World Bank. This is going to surprise you folks, because many of you want India to quit the World Bank. I'll give you the answer at the end of the show. Stay till the end. Sir, over to you. Full fuel tank.
Yeah, full. Okay, so I think we won't skip many slides after we do this. So the fuel tank was full, as was revealed in the readings. Okay, which is the case. There was there uneven load balancing? No. The answer is no. The center, left, right. There was there was no uneven load balancing, as you can see. From the panel. We will keep this panel for future discussion, because the reason is, as I say, we are still in the process of discovering the truth. By the way, just for your perspective, we have spoken with some of the people who have worked on the software part of it within Air India. So they've given us some opinions as to how software can create a glitch. We have talked to some of the people who are on the engineering side of the airport. So, and we have not spoken with Dreamliner team. So maybe at some stage we'll do that as well. But the story is that each of them have given a fair amount of indication as to what they believe to be Okay, and none of them have a converging view that this was a kind of a sabotage, notwithstanding the fact there are several theories floating around saying that this is a sabotage. So when you look at keep these things, because we may, this is the original, so we may lose this in future when we discover further truth. So on the load balancing side, you can see that there's a fairly even distribution of load between the center and the two left and the right wings. So there was no issue, and also the plane was not full. Almost, I think, when I say full, maybe it is 90% plus, 95% plus. So there's nothing to say that there was excess load from a baggage point of view on the plane. Any of these kind of variables which can create an aberration to the flight. So there's nothing of that ilk. Next.
Sir.
Okay, next is on the valves. So whether there are, some valves were off or kept on. Most of this, the fuel valves as well as the emission areas, they all were kind of in position. There was nothing which is to indicate that there were any imbalances, whether there was any negligence on the part of the captain. Whether he oversaw, whether he overlooked anything which was potentially caused by the ground engineers. No, the answer is no. Based on all the data that we are receiving and talking to people. Okay, we are not aviation experts, so we talk to people who are subject matter expertise in this specific domain. The third,
sir.
So I say uneven load balancing, excess load, both removed. There's one area which remains a question mark, Sree, which we discussed, which is the flaps. There is, we'll get to the little bit of the technicality in a minute. The flaps, okay, you can see there's an arrow pointing out the flaps on the wings. Okay, the flaps of the wings need to be set to a reading of 10 or 15. There is a theory that is going around, and this is the focus of the investigation, which is to say whether it was set to 0. What happens if you set to 0? So when you set to 0, so the flaps don't open. So whether people can point out that this can happen as a result of a software glitch, it may not have been detected at the point of the flight clearance, but it could be, and this is affirmatively indicated by the engineers who have worked on this software for quite a few years, more than 10 years. They have worked on this, they say. So therefore, I think that but the focus of this investigation moves to this particular phase, and why these, flaps are the significance of these flaps. We'll get to that in a minute as we make some concluding statements. Next, no excess, no flaps. Is there some compromise on the Ahmedabad? Remained at 0 setting and did not open. This is the theory that is making round and subject of investigation. This is the overall kind of the aircraft and, where various parts are. Now, I think that you can go and study this. Otherwise, this can take up another 2 hours in terms of a deep analysis of this. But we'll come back to all these pictures as we kind of navigate through this discovery process. But let's kind of summarize what people are saying here is, was there some compromise in the ground maintenance and post the clearance, which caused this aberration? There are 2 theories making round. One is, this is talking to people who have studied this, and this is not our opinion. This is the analysis and this is the research that we have done, and which points to the fact that one theory is that, either one engine failed or 2 engines failed, or there was a bird hit. There's conclusive evidence that there was no bird hit, but there is this anomaly between the 2 engines failing and 1 engine failing. The anomaly is that one opinion, which is from a very, very senior person in the space and avionics, and his theory is that both engines failed within the after about, they're kind of taking the 60-second window. Okay, they said that somewhere past 10 seconds, both the engines failed. At that point of time, a communication, the pilot initiated the communication, the Mayday with ATC and airport traffic control. And what he is saying is that what the analysis says here is that whether communication was established saying, Mayday, I'm not getting the vertical thrust for the plane to kind of lift, and I'm trying. Is there engine malfunction or there's a problem I'm not able to get? Okay, now before air traffic control can respond, the signal is lost. Now, this is where the analysis goes into the next phase, which is to say what the pilot is trying to do under this Mayday situation. Now, let's keep this for a what the pilot is saying at this point of time, what the analysis is saying, not the pilot, let me correct myself, is saying is that, so he's trying to navigate. So he's now into, this next 10 to 20, 25 seconds. He's trying to see what he can do as the plane begins to lose height. Okay, as the plane begins to lose height because of not getting the vertical thrust, he's trying to open the flaps. Why is he trying to open the flaps? He's trying to open the flaps to see whether he can actually keep the plane afloat and to determine what he can do to bring this plane down. And then at that point of time, obviously the flaps don't seem to open. So now you have lost another 10, 15, 20 seconds. Okay, so now you're into 35 kind of seconds time zone. So the plane is continuing to make its way down. And it is around this point, he believes, that the passengers are aware something is wrong. Until then, the passengers were not aware. Between second 1 to second 35, they're not aware. And the story is that once the 36th second came in, they knew something is wrong, and the plane is rapidly descending from the rear, which you can all see from the various videos that you would have seen. In normal circumstances, it would have probably crash landed in probably a much softer spot, but unfortunately came in the way of this big medical hostel, which had kind of in a concrete structure. So the rear of the plane hits, and this is between the 35th second and the 60th second. And then at that point of time, even without the fuel tank exploding, there's a possibility of some casualties, but the story the possibility of some rescue. As you saw, one person walked out of the plane. But what kind of became calamitous is that the fuel tank exploding, and you saw fuel tank had full in that panel, full fuel, and it had not jettisoned all of the fuel because it had not reached the normal height. This when they kind of inject out the fuel. So it exploded, and then of course the rest is history. This is one analysis from an expert in this space. If you speak with the people who are behind the software and the engineering part of it, they say that all of these things can happen. What they call LD, load distribution control, engine safety control measures, etc. They're all software. So they say this is the people who have worked on this. I'm not saying some random person. This is people within. They say that hey, a software glitch can happen, and when it happens, these kinds of engine stalling and so on and so forth. One other important point in the prior analysis: apparently not only engine stalled, but also the landing gear was not pulled back in. The landing gear was still out. Was not pulled back in. This is in the prior analysis by that avionics expert. I'm switching back to the software guy. So the software said any of this can happen on the software side. So this is not a kind of negligence. This is not the kind of pilot oversight. This is not because somebody tried to sabotage it on ground or off ground. So this is from the software engineering side of the story. Now, of course, the third theory that is going around in the background, fourth theory, I'll leave Sree Iyer ji to kind of comment. The third theory that is going around is that there was some compromise at the ground level, which could have resulted in this specific breach, because sometimes once they get the clearance, they move forward. It is not as trivial as I say it, but these are the things that are going around. It is very, there's still some noise in the social media circles. So we are trying to exclude that noise. There was one other thing that that is going around, who is Jamat-e-Islami, and, where they're behind it. And they have some issues with Tata Group because they are pro-Palestinian supporter. I mean, Tata, this Jamat-e-Islami is a pro-Palestinian group, and etc., etc. The Tata Group has support for Israel and so on. So this is all noise, okay, which we're just sharing with you. But there are these sabotage theories coming from various with the story. But there is nothing to corroborate that any of this stuff. I don't know whether somebody is trying to claim credit as opposed to, and this is the noise that you see. You can go and check it out by yourself. You'll find some of these stories if they have not deleted it already. So these are the very clearly two theories, one on the software side, one on the engine side, and clearly the investigation probably moving into the flaps. At least give credence to the fact that there was something which was beyond human control that occurred. But while the nefarious theories continued to float around.
Thank you so much, Sridharji. And the best for the last, there is another possibility. This has been not discussed so far. And once I say it, you guys are going to scream conspiracy theory. But two instances of this has happened. China was the perpetrator, or believed to be the perpetrator, believed to be the alleged perpetrator. And the country to suffer on both those occasions was United States. Once a cruise ship in high seas got completely disabled, electronics got fried, and this was like a few miles off the coast, but they had to ferry people out using helicopters, and this was supposed to be a vacation cruise. The whole thing got ruined. And well, there's a story about that. You'll come to know more about it when you read my next book, Operation 𝗏𝗲. Now, the next thing is, again, alleged interference in 2020 elections. A data center in, I'll tell you where the place in Nashville, right?
Nashville. Yeah, Nashville.
AT&T data center in Nashville got fried. And there was a van that was doing the rounds, going round and round the building. So it is believed that that was sort of giving a secondary reference point for whoever was targeting it. And that was only possible because this is a building in the downtown amongst many buildings. So that's only possible if it was directed from space. Now, cut to India, right? Who has been
we covered this extensively in our DGI program. There was
absolutely, yes. Some of those episodes got quietly taken down by YouTube, sir, without even telling you and I. So it's okay. I mean, these are all, again, allegations, conspiracy theory, whatever you want, because no country is going to accept it. Now, take that thing and see if an EMP were to be applied on an aircraft, what would happen? So first of all, the way you ride out an EMP, the way you make it ineffective is that you harden your electronics. An electromagnetic pulse, EMP, can essentially disable the entire electronics in a flash. Once that happens, no control is going to work. Now, one way to disable that is, one way to ensure that you don't get affected by it is to harden your electronic. What hardening means is, again, I explained that in my book, Operation 𝗏𝗲. You need to make the components, every component, from a resistor to a capacitor to everything, all the electronics, to be wider than mil-spec, meaning being able to operate across a wide range of temperatures. And then it will not get affected. I looked up Dreamliner documentation. It is not hardened. There's one clue there, but all airlines, almost all that I know of, don't have hardened electronics. Again, don't kill me saying that, oh, no, you missed out this particular brand of this. Look, they don't do it because it costs more money and it adds weight to the plane, a lot of other reasons. But this is a 2009, 2010 started manufacturing. So it's about 15 years old, this Dreamliner, this particular plane. So that is also something that the Indian government should be looking at. Again, I doubt if either the Indian government or the Chinese government will say, yes, we did it. But that's also something out there. So I just wanted to put that out. Sir, there is another thing that we want to talk about. I mean, two more things. One is energy. Energy markets, the crude has gone up by $10, I think, per barrel because of the Israel attack on Iran. Now they've been trading, hits back and forth. Talk to us a little bit about Iran's response to Israel. Now Israel also is hit back. Where do you think this is going to stop? And do you think other countries will get dragged in? Over to you, sir.
Right. I think that first in the markets, we initially saw between 6 to 8% escalation in the forward contracts. Now it has gone past 10% in terms of the forward contracts. This will directly flow into the economy. If somebody thinks that this is going to die down in the next 24 hours and the market prices will stabilize, I think far from it. We can expect the price instability to kind of persist for some time. That obviously flows into the economy. The US markets went down Friday quite substantially post the attack, and the markets point to continued trouble as the weekend lapses and the markets open on Monday. So therefore, one has to factor the volatility of the markets for the particularly not only just on the oil energy prices, but also on the overall market kind of conditions. So where does this go? I mean, it's very clear that you remember, if you go back to the Biden time, that Netanyahu had requested for taking out, and he did not in the last minute get the permission. I think again we had covered this in our at that point of time the DGI show. So yes, they had to withdraw those plans. Now the fact that Trump is at helm and said that we have nothing to do, but I'm supporting the action of Israel, whereas his Secretary of State gave a counter kind of a statement, which is to say this is a unilateral action taken by Israel, and we have nothing to do with it, and United States has no role in this. He can make his plea what he wants, but if somebody thinks the world believes in him or versus president, it's as good as your judgment is mine. But I think that to me, while we support Israelis' actions, but the question is whether it is warranted at this stage. Now, this is basically countered by two other people. Okay, for example, 𝗤𝗙𝗄𝗏 𝗏𝗏, who was giving a briefing. She's saying that Iran was not yet in a position of full enrichment. This is her statement. Now, Nikki Haley was the former United Nations head from United States. She is saying, or UN ambassador, she's saying that, hey, this is long overdue, and the actions taken by Israel is consistent with the Israelis, Iranians kind of belligerent measures in terms of secretive enrichment of uranium and building nuclear stockpile and trying to threaten Israel. That's her kind of position. All this is all this in the last 24 hours. So you can go through it. Now it's very clear that Iran is not going to keep quiet. Now Iran is going to do two things. Already you can see that they have launched a series of missiles, which have some of them have made their way into mainland of Israel, and you can see some damages in the civilian areas, though they may have targeted, but nothing. Now they're saying that nothing is all now are open, all targets are open, all assets of Israel are open now for us to kind of respond. So there is going to be, there's already consequences. They will not be restricted purely to military measures. They will use any kind of asset that is available to them in terms, whether they will drag Iraq, Bahrain, Lebanon. I mean, Syria, there's nothing much except Syria has got a pro-Western regime right now. So whether they will drag all of this into this war, Now, once Iraq and Iran get their act together, then I think that, and then Lebanon, then you have some serious kind of consequences in terms of this getting into a much more deeper moribund relative to where we are today. But I think all things point out to that, and to which Netanyahu has responded by saying, now the Israeli jets will occupy the main skies of Iran, and we will choose any and all targets that are available to us to make sure that Iran is contained. Now, as far as US is concerned, US has made a statement, President Trump has made a statement, this all can stop provided Iran comes to the negotiating table. The question is, what is left of the nuclear assets in Iran, and why should they come to negotiations or discussion at this point of time? Now, just like everybody else, you also have a political opposition in the United States. Bernie Sanders has stated, Israeli action I don't support. And we were supposed to have a meeting this Sunday, which is tomorrow, Sree, in US time. And the meeting is supposed to discuss the Iranian disarmament. Now, that meeting will not take place. Iran has refused to talk to US. In the meanwhile, China has gone to United Nations and basically condemned all actions and acts of Israel in terms of this attack being perpetuated. Russia has kept quiet. Russia has not made any comment. It's possible that because President Trump has spoken with Russian president, and what transpired
50-minute conversation.
Yeah. So spoken with them. Netanyahu has spoken with Prime Minister Modi. Trump has spoken with Prime Minister Modi. So they all have had some, engagements and conversations. And even at the point of time of the so-called intervention, which India has outrightly declined, there appears to have been an Israel-Iran conversation between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, and also Netanyahu warning or giving some indications to Modi to that effect. So this geopolitical kind of confluence and some of these events indicate that there's much wider discussions that has taken place preceding the Israeli attack, and whether this will spread into a broader war is very much within the realms of possibility. It's no longer a question of if, but it's a question of when.
Sridharji, in your considered opinion, see, a lot of social media, sites as well as many guests are saying that US had its nuclear storage, nuclear stuff in Pakistan, and that got hit when Kirana Hills and Noor Khan Air Base got hit. In your considered opinion, do you think US would risk putting nuclear assets in Pakistan, sir?
No. There's a lot of stories that are fake stories that are going up. I mean, the latest, which you probably would have heard, and Sree, we discussed it before the show, the field marshal not being invited to the parade is another story.
What an embarrassment, sir. What an embarrassment. These guys are beneath shame. Beneath shame.
Field marshal being invited, now being told that he's not invited. He was never invited. So I think, the AI has created a monster, and to the kind of the fake narratives that are going around, it's impossible to distill it until you take a fair amount of time. Nobody wants to comment on it from even the political side for the fear of why we need to get our finger burnt. So there's a tremendous amount of fake stories that are going around. It's very, very sad how technology can be a disabler of what you call as a trusted civil movement around the world. So it's very sad, Sree.
Sir, now let's get back to the main reveal that we had promised. Okay, World Bank. How India cannot leave the World Bank for the simple reason that here, India is the biggest debtor from World Bank, $40 billion up till 2023, and they probably borrowed even more. Sir, if you look at this list, top 10 World Bank borrowers, India is number 1, large borrower. Turkey is 2, Indonesia is 3, Ukraine is 4, China is 5. Although China has put a lot of money into the World Bank coffers. So explain to this to us, Sridharji, because our viewers will be shocked to know that India is the biggest borrower from World Bank. How can then it go and say you should not give any money to Pakistan? I'm just asking as a layperson, sir.
Well, I think that we decided to put this up because in response to the prior program, people were making lots of statements and, without kind of knowing the fact base. Firstly and foremost, all these countries, including China, comes under the category of emerging markets. This is the greatness of China, right? I think they probably learned some of these techniques from the Pakistani friends, which is namely how to kind of drain and milk the system, if you have to use that phrase. But they have successfully, these nations have successfully used for various what we call infrastructure development projects. And you can go to the World Bank and secure loans. So China has secured. India has consistently been #1 borrower in the last 4 or 5 years. Only in 2024-25, which ended in March 31st, Philippines went to #1, and India still remained at #4 with around $2.3 or $2.4 billion of a drawdown from the World Bank. So therefore, India is a very big beneficiary. It's the lead borrower today, and it owes close to $40 billion of debt to the World Bank as we speak, or $39.2, $39.3 billion. Number 2 is Indonesia, and in the top 5 or 6, Bangladesh, Pakistan, China get featured. They all draw money and use it for various domestic projects, be it building dams, be it building roads, be it building railways, be it developing their irrigation systems, etc. These are all from kind of from an infrastructure development project. So India is a very big drawer of the money from World Bank. India is also a very big donor to IMF. I think it contributes something like somewhere around between 3 to 4% of the total contribution. The highest contribution to IMF is United States with around 17%. But when you add all the countries, then they take up 30 to 40%, including China. China, US, France, Germany, UK, big donors to the World Bank. I think we released some of the other donors, and similarly IMF across the world, they make small contributions so that they can avail funding for poverty alleviation and other types of kind of programs. So therefore, India is in the thick and thin of both World Bank and IMF efforts. So there is no way India can get out. And it is, it's a good access to cheap capital. And there's no concept of NPAs and other kinds of things. The loan terms can be extended. They're very concessional. It is all about development of economies of the respective countries. Of course, the Indian viewers may argue, how rational one can be for some nations which are supporting terrorism. I mean, unfortunately, those don't get figured in the discussion. You can critique, you can say what you want, but that's the reality.
Thank you, sir. And let's take a few questions now, if you don't mind. Akshay Iyer, thank you so much. Whenever US or its allies are going to attack, Pentagon works overnight and speeds our takeaway spikes. Is it true? Observed even in 1991 Iraq war.
I'm not sure I understand. You can interpret the question for me, Sree.
Sir, what he's saying is that if there are lots of pizza takeaways happening to Pentagon, that means there is something happening in the world with US's active involvement.
What he's saying is that whenever US is involved in a war with active engagement of Pentagon, people are going to keep awake. And so there's going to be a lot of pizza orders. This is how I am interpreting. Maybe I am wrong, but I don't. So we could be giving wrong answers, interpreting this question differently. Well, to some extent, the United States people, the television viewing is very high because of the active coverage of the war. There is no doubt about that, Sree.
Oh no, this is inside Pentagon, sir, not in homes.
That I don't know.
That's classified. You can neither confirm nor deny it. Thank you, Anil Rana. Why USA allowed Pakistan nukes but not Iran?
No, I don't think Pakistan. I don't think that is correct. I don't think USA allowed, Pakistan nukes. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 incidents during that particular period of time assisted Pakistan. The whole Pakistan nuclear program was built covertly with the Chinese and North Korean support. I think this everybody is well aware. Unfortunately, Gulf War I, Gulf War II, Afghan occupation, all of those things mitigated any punitive action with significant amount of US forces on ground in geopolitical locations proximus to Pakistan and some inside Pakistan. Sree.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Vishnu Gopi. Iran did not see the pattern Israel followed with Hezbollah and Hamas. Take out the top leadership. Surprise, Iran failed to secure their top leadership. Khamenei not targeted, but easy dying daily.
Well, it's quite amazing that I don't know whether we can share. The Mossad penetration into Iran is so deep because this is what happens when you have long era of controlled and contrived regimes. Apparently, the drones were launched by the Israelis, or some of the weapons were launched by the Israelis from inside and center of Iran. Some even from proximus to those nuclear locations. So Mossad had gained a very strong foothold inside Iran. And there's some videos which demonstrate to that effect. So therefore, when you have long, regimes, you begin to kind of lose control of your own kind of country, and you begin to believe in naysayers. So I think the Khamenei regime, which probably the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, they basically gave Khamenei all thumbs up. We are in full control. There's nothing to worry. And, we take charge and take control, and we're doing it. Notwithstanding the fact their leadership has been progressively been targeted and attacked. Sree. And this goes back to even the closing days of President Trump when Soleimani was taken out when he was making a visit to Iraq.
Yes, indeed. And last question, sir. Vasu, your other question has already been answered by Sridharji. Sridharji, when is the official investigation report supposed to be completed? I thought 3 months technical committee has already been formed.
Correct. The answer is that's correct, Sree.
Vasu, you will not know the real reason, because if it is one of the things that I just mentioned, nobody would want to admit it. What India will do is to do a quiet deal with the insurance people to make sure that they get compensated. Boeing will quietly fix all their problems. And there are 5 planes still that are suspect in its quality. And these are still being used by Air India. I don't know if they've been grounded or not. Total of 11 planes with suspect quality got shipped between 2012 to 2014. Of the 11, Air India got 6. January 31st is when 2014 is when this Dreamliner arrived in India. So there is a very detailed report about Boeing's missteps that we are going to release that video in a short while, maybe today or tomorrow, possibly. Do watch that to understand that this is not a simple problem. Boeing has had a lot of problems. Thank you so much, Sridharji. We'll be back again very soon to talk about other things. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Have a wonderful weekend.